finding new items. This race will be in Pirates mode, which means they already have all of the pirate items up front, which will save them a lot of backtracking and make the run very quick. And we're underway. So we've got a couple of opening cutscenes here, and before that we'll have to go through this intro area, which normally there's a lot of platforming, a lot of enemies you have to kill. However, because we're in pirate mode, we can just charge through them all. And yeah, players will be hoping to get some drops off the guards here. Not necessary to get them, but they'll be hoping to get lucky and get some nice drops. Players neck and neck at this point, as you'd expect, killing the exact same enemies. They have the exact same routing through this. So both players opting to use their pike ball here. So pike ball will make the bridge explode quicker because you hit the mine on the left hand side as you come in, as you charge past it. And it will also last until the first boss, Ammo Baron, which will be coming up at the end of this screen. There is a risk using that early, that it can run out during Ammo Baron if you get really bad RNG, but both players should be fine with that. I believe Amethyst getting a pike ball drop there, which would be very nice indeed. You can either use that to farm some gems or save it for later in the run. So here we are against first boss Amethyst, as Shantae gets a red cannonball straight up front, which is exactly what you want to see. So the way Ammo Baron works is he can do one of three things. He can either charge to you up to 4 times, he can shoot a black cannonball at you up to 2 times, and shoot a red cannonball. And after you've hit 2 red cannonballs back to him, if you do enough damage. That was a fantastic fight by Trenta, that was really good RNG. As soon as you hit 2 red cannonballs back, you have to whip him a couple times. With the pike ball, you can do it in 2 cycles, and the 3rd cycle he is dead. But yeah, Trenta getting really fortunate RNG there. That was a really good Ammo Baron fight, and Amethyst finishing up not too far behind. So we've got just over a minute of cutscenes here while plot is established in the game, where they'll just be skipping through text dialogue. That's about it. So yeah, for some reason there is a bathtub in Shantae's house. Shantae doesn't realise that she doesn't own a bathtub, so she gets in it. She would do. Turns out it's a trap by Risky Boots. But then yeah, it drags you off here, and then you fight the drags you off to her uncle's lab, where you find a cacklebat. This is the only cacklebat we'll be destroying in the fighting in the game, and Trenta getting a very nice kill there. Amethyst getting a really nice kill as well, making up some time there, I believe. So yeah, getting the dark magic from the cacklebat, as this is an any percent run, that is the only dark magic we will be collecting. So Trenta picking up a library card from Sky there, which we'll need to get out of town. And to also get out of town, we'll need to do a save here at the save guy. The only save we need to do during the run. So with the library card and the save done, we can speak to that guard who will now let us out of town into Scarecrow Fields. So yeah, Trenta's charging through. scarecrow fields now. They'll try and kill as many scarecrows as they can, because once you notice that when you hit an enemy, you start an Amethyst getting a super pike ball. That is a very nice drop. He has a really good drop so far. Yeah, whenever you kill an enemy during a charge, it stops you slightly. It pauses the game, but the more you kill that, slowdown lessens, until it's virtually zero. So at that point, you might as well just charge as many enemies as possible, because you've got to charge through some brick walls later on. So Trent are doing a trick there, where if you get trapped between the snake and the wall above them, and then use your scimitar on them, you'll actually hit them multiple times, and their hitbox lingers around after their death, so you can in fact get multiple drops off them. Amethyst getting very unlucky, only getting 2 of the required flash pops, and I believe Trent got 4 or 5. Amethyst picking up his final flash pop, but he's still very, very close to Trent, who's made up a little bit of time, and that super pike ball will help him immensely. So handing in the 3 flash pops they acquired to Bolo to get the travel brochure, to then give to their good friend the Squid Baron, who will in turn return some squid oil. So normally you'd have to come back to get the brochure, but because they have all the pirate items up front, they can, they can just get it now, save them a trip back later on. It'll be interesting to see what Amethyst decides to do with that super pike ball. You usually buy one during your first shop, so he may decide to forego that purchase for now, or he may continue buying the super pike ball and just save this one for later. Depends what he values more, a super pike ball or money, which is more versatile. So Trent picking up his map and is now heading back towards town. So because Trent doesn't have a pike ball, he doesn't have the option to kill these orcs. If he had a pike ball drop at this point, you could use it, charge those orcs, and potentially get another 15 gems, maybe a pirate flare or a bento box as well. And Amethyst not choosing to use his pike ball either. Trent getting a monster milk at the end, that's very nice. That he'll either use that for the first or second boss. Perhaps coming up as Amethyst gets a lobster tail, which is a food item, which he'll be able to use for an animation skip later on. So Trent handing in the library card, and Sky, who decides that she's basically Shantae was sentenced to get her hair cut off. Sky didn't like this, so she decided to collect some money to help Shantae get kick-started. That money is not for handing back the library cards, I found out. So it looked like Amethyst bought a monster milk there. I didn't see what else he bought though. I didn't see what Trent bought, unfortunately, either. Let's get Trent now on Saliva Island, killing these crab guys, hoping to get a bubble shield drop. Unfortunately, not getting anything. They're just working their way up the island to switch the water back on. Oh, and Amethyst getting a bubble shield, getting all the drops early on. So Trent doing what you normally do in a video game and whipping some ham and then sucking up the stink into your lamp. I'm really sick of games that do that. There's far too many of them. This Amethyst getting a meat chunklet drop from one of the crabs as well. So usually here where Trent is, you'd have to sort of traverse all these platforms trying to get across, but thankfully we have a cannon so we can skip a large section of that. And you see Trent pausing 3 times there, and you'll see Amethyst do the same. That, for some reason, pausing and unpausing 3 times skips a small cutscene where the Gigalummox is blinking. Yeah, releasing the ham stink will turn the water back on for the island. As the island's called Saliva Island, you now know why. And yeah, Shantae games, most of them are Metroidvania-like, some more than others. Pirate's Curse is one of the more Metroidvania-like games, I'd say. But they will have some elements of that. So now that the water's back on, Twitch and Vinegar, these two girls here, take their clothes off, get into their bikinis, and the light reflects off their body onto this ancient wording behind them and gives Shantae the Petrify spell, who she'll give to this man who wants to free his wife who's been petrified. He thinks he can undo the spell. Unfortunately, he can't, and he petrifies himself, breaking open the entrance to the first dungeon. So you see Trent running back and forth there. What that is, that's a trick called the Risky Shuffle. So by running back and forth in a particular way using the analog stick and D-pad, you're able to get your boost early, which means you can boost in a shorter space and charge in places you weren't meant to. And by charging to that wall there, we get into the secret dungeon, which is an homage to the first Game Boy Color Shantae game. And what players will be doing here is grabbing 2 keys. Keys in this game are global, they're not tied to a specific dungeon. So by grabbing 2 keys here, we save grabbing 2 keys later on. And in about 20 minutes or so, we'll find out exactly where these keys are used for. So you see Trent here getting his flesh pop ready and doing an animation skip. So by using a food item as you're picking up a key, for example, you will go into the food animation and skip the item pickup animation. And the food animation is a lot quicker, saving you a number of seconds. So yeah, see there, Amethyst taking a intended death just to walk back to the start of that room. Amethyst getting a lobster tail, which again can be used for an animation skip later on. So Trenta not using his monster milk here, instead just going for the usual strategy. If you use your monster milk key, you can carry it into the first boss fight. You may still use it for the first boss fight, but we will see what he decides to do. And Amethyst not choosing to use his monster milk. No, never mind. Yes, he is. So expect Amethyst to catch up a little bit here. So Trenta entering the first boss fight against Cyclops Plant. What we'll try to do is similar to the snakes in the sewers, as he takes an unfortunate hit, is get stuck between the boss and the ceiling so you can bounce off them in rapid succession. So that's phase 1 down, no issue. And I'll be trying to do exactly the same thing in phase 2. Getting it without issue, and that is a very clean boss fight indeed. Synchronized explosions between both players there. Unfortunately, Amethyst is 1 explosion behind. But you can expect him to catch up a little bit here thanks to his use of the monster milk that he purchased. So for defeating the boss, the players are rewarded with a map to the next island. So players will run off, go back to Risky's boat before heading to Spiderweb Island. So Amethyst using the Risky Shuffle there to build up a charge in a space they're not meant to build it up in, so just a little bit quicker to get back to the boat. You'll be seeing the Risky Shuffle all throughout the run. Sometimes it's just a very, very short turn back. Other times, when it's in very tight space, you'll see them running back and forth a lot. And Trenta not quite getting it there as he would like to. Trent's picking up the fossil here. Again, this is usually an item you would pick up much later on in the run, but because we have all the pirate items, we can collect it now to save some backtracking later on. So the room Trent's in and the room Amethyst in, as Trent get hit by the ghost twice. The ghosts in these rooms can spawn in any number of spots, but the runners don't know which spot they'll spawn in this particular time through. So they can memorize where they could spawn, but until you're actually in that room, until they actually spawn, you don't know exactly where that'll be. Trent now in everyone's favourite part of the game, Run Rotty Tops. So how this section works is you have to go through a number of screens carrying Rotty Tops here, as Trent gets the stake jump there. Travel through a number of rooms. Any hit you take in these rooms will send you back to the beginning of the room. So you don't have health in these rooms like everywhere else. You have a set number of... you don't have a set number of health. Each time you get hit, you get sent back, as Trent gets sent back once by the gatekeeper there. So the idea is just to traverse through all these rooms as quickly as possible without taking as little... can't speak today, sorry. Trying to get through these rooms without taking any deaths. And Trent not quite getting the spike cycle there, as Amethyst also meets the gatekeeper's tongue. Yeah, so the first tongue monster you see there on Amethyst's screen is called the Gatekeeper. Most players will try and go for that, because if you get hit even once and make it through the second time, it's just as quick as, or just about as quick as, waiting for the tongue to drop, then going past, so there's no real time loss. Yeah, the vast majority of the section is all just cycle-based. You're just waiting for spikes to come down and paths to open up. So there's not a whole lot of time you can get it, so it's effectively an auto-scroller. Some screens you can gain more time than others. There's a couple of tricks you can do here and there to skip some times, like the tongue skips. You may have seen them too, where they drop down earlier than intended just to get past the tongue skip box. But beyond that, yeah, it's just a lot of waiting around. So it's about I can't remember how long it is, 4 or 5 minute section, I believe, where there's very little time to gain in it. Can get a little bit old, but it's fun nonetheless. So the gravestones you see in Trenta's room coming to life, we know which ones will come to life, we just don't know if they will and when they will. Trenta going for more stake jumps there. So the hands hitbox don't become active until a moment after they popped up, so you can actually jump inside them for a moment and be perfectly safe, as Amethyst dying to one of the gravestones, unfortunately not landing in between them, and the right one coming to life just as he gets there. Trent's making his way through one of the 2 longest rooms in the game, working his way past these kissy robots who just want to give Shantae a hug and a kiss. But getting through it, no problem. As Amethyst is entering that room just as Trent's leaving it. So they have the length of this room behind. Okay, Trent now coming up to the Stevens section of the game. So these enemies have been dubbed Stevens for some reason. They will shoot little snakes at you and you have to avoid them. So how far up they go and when they shoot their snakes is RNG. And other gates of hell open. The gates of hell are open for Trent. And the Stevens are nice to her, so nice to Shantae there. So that's a very, very good pattern indeed. So getting through that room in one cycle is very good. So if the gates open there or not, entirely RNG dependent. There is some kind of cycle here for everyone watching tops, but we're not 100% sure how it works. Well, Trenta taking an unfortunate death to the gravestones in this room. That is quite a big time loss. Not as big as it would be later on in this room, as this is the other longest room here, but still a decent time loss. And the gates are closed for Amethyst. You see there, nothing he can do about that. Just has to wait for them to go and hope that the little Stevens here don't troll him too much. But he gets through that room, no problem at all. Trenta getting lucky there, running through one of the gravestones, but fortunately not coming to life. Yeah, very fortunate. If he'd died there, that would have been, I think, 45 second time loss, something along those lines, if not more. So Trent now handing in Rotty Tops, and he'll be heading left to go hand in the squid oil we collected much earlier on. Amethyst making it through the final room, no trouble at all. So, Trent picking up the item he needs to get into the next dungeon, a shriveled thing. It smells, which is one of the few text lines you can't skip in the game for some reason. Yeah, so handing the shriveled thing into this cave here will let him enter the next dungeon, Cackle Tower. So there was an optional key the players could have picked up in the first dungeon. However, most players opt to get the one in this dungeon instead, because it comes with a chance of getting a drop. Either a super pike ball, a super monster milk, or if you're Nori, a pirate flare. And getting a pike ball and a super pike ball there is very nice for Trent. So the pike ball here we use for the Batgirl in the upcoming room, and the super pike ball will go into his arsenal for later bosses. And another 2 pike balls there. Oh, and Amethyst also getting a super pike ball. That's a second drop. That's very lucky for him. And you see Trent using his normal pike ball just to speed up his Batgirl, and unfortunately not getting any drops. So picking up the key, and now we'll continue on with the rest of the dungeon as Amethyst is fighting his Batgirl. Let's see what he gets. And he gets another super pike ball, so he's on 2 now, I believe, as he didn't purchase one earlier. 3 total. Ideally you need 5 throughout the run. And again, using a meat chunklet there for an animation skip. Yeah, players are about 30 seconds apart at the moment, which is not a lot in this game. That can change very, very quickly. Especially with the RNG Amethyst is having, with all those super pipe ball drops. It's interesting to see. And he still has a monster milk, I believe. No, never mind, he uses Trent as the monster milk, sorry. So Trent could be using it on the boss here, or he could be saving it for later on. He'll ideally want to be full health before entering this boss, but he doesn't want to heal up, so he's probably not going for the damage boosting strat here. So what some players would choose to do for Empress Spider is if you jump up with your super pipe ball and get stuck in a hitbox, and if you whip before you're hit, you will not get knocked back and you can just stay inside the hitbox. And once you get hit, your jump gets reset as well, so you can just jump over and over again. Trent does use his monster milk, which does heal him up, so he's at full health for this boss. And the monster milk will speed up the fight by a few seconds. Yeah, you can see him there. That's a very, very quick kill indeed. Amethyst trying to get stuck in the hitbox, but not quite managing it, but still doing a lot of damage to Empress Spider. Amethyst taking it a bit careful now as he's low on health, doesn't want to use that auto potion, but gets the boss down. A very nice kill by him as well. So now Trent's complete the dungeon. He will use one of the pirate flares he purchased earlier to go back to Risky's ship. And heads on over to the next island of the game, Tan Line Island. So he'll be meeting up with Squid Baron here to collect an item. On his way through, he'll be hoping for some drops off these cactus enemies coming up. So he'll want a bubble shield, at least 1 bubble shield. 2 is ideal for the run, but you almost certainly need at least 1 for the final boss. Or a monster milk, and he gets neither. and choosing to skip that Scorp Gale, which you can kill for a chance of a Super Pike Ball or a Super Monster Milk, or more commonly, just 5 gems.
I'm ready.
Let's see what Amethyst gets. Probably about 10 Monster Milks knowing his luck this run. Or none. No drops at all for either player. Amethyst as well, not choosing to kill the Scorp Gal. So Trent getting the X-ray specs from Squid Baron, and we'll now head back to Sliver Island to look at Sarcophagus, head back to the first island to get another one before heading back to Tan Line and then being able to enter the next area of the game. Yep, Trent heading up Sliver Island now. The reason we couldn't do this when we were on Sliver Island earlier is that we need the X-ray specs to be able to read the sarcophagus. See Trent whipping the wall here. No, he's not crazy. He just wants 30 gems, that there are hidden pots inside that wall. With this taking a knockdown there by these weird crab enemy things. Not going for that drop. He already has a bubble shield, so probably not too concerned. Yeah, Trent reading the code on that sarcophagus will now be heading back to Risky Ship, and then we'll be heading to Scuttletown to get the next code. Let's see what Trent buys from the shop here. 3 Pirate Flares and a Super Monster Milk. So ideally he needs another 2 Pirate Flares throughout the run, so he's planning another shop. And not feeling too confident on his RNG, so he purchases that Super Monster Milk. Oh, I think something's gonna happen here. So Trent's game has crashed. Unfortunately, in the PC version, there are several spots in which the game manages to crash. One of them is leaving Tan Line, leaving Tan Line dock. Because he's only saved at the beginning of the game, there's not a lot he can do, and he has forfeited the race. So not a lot we can do at the moment, just wait for Amethyst to finish up as he gets the Monster Milk from Tan Line Island. Making his way through these skeletons, hoping to get a Super Pike Ball. I don't believe he got one. And also not getting one on his way back, but he's already got 2, I believe, at this point, which is pretty good, so he's good for that. So by collecting all 3 sarcophagus, he gets a code which he can then use to enter the next area. Amethyst going for the scimitar strats, unfortunately not getting them. Yeah, as Nori said in chat, it's something we're aware of that could happen. Yeah, the runners can decide after the race if they want to rematch or if they want to keep the results entirely up to them. We don't have any rules around what happens. So Amethyst is in Tan Line Temple now, also known as Metal Gear Shantae. So this is a stealth section where you need to avoid the guards. If you get seen, you get sent back to the jail cell you start in. So yeah, you don't want to get caught. But this is the area where we got the keys for earlier, and we'll be using it. Amethyst unfortunately just misses the chain and gets caught and sent back to the start room. So I believe from there it's almost a 30-second time loss. Maybe it is a 30-second time loss from that chain. Getting the chain skip, no problem the second time of asking. So Amethyst choosing to skip 60 gems he could collect in the room above him. Clearly happy with his drop so far. And not going for the fast strat here, taking it nice and safe, and I don't blame him. Especially after already being caught once, you don't want another 40, 45, even up to a minute's time loss if you get caught in this room. So yeah, unfortunately Trent's game crashed as he entered, as the extinct and line dock. Nothing can do about it. It's an unfortunate issue with the PC version of the game. So Amethyst using the 2 keys we collected earlier to great effect here, and saving the 3 other female leads in this game. So he just needs to save Rotty Top now, and then he will be on his way. Yeah, if both game crashes and they both forfeit, then they'll have to do a re-race. So Amethyst now has the golden pickaxe, which will allow him to progress. Give it to this nice gentleman here who'll be able to knock down this brick wall for you. Stone wall even. And let you access the next dungeon of the game. So you see him pausing there as the music came on, just to check his items. So if you pause there as the music's playing, the music will continue. You don't lose any time, so you basically get a free menu check. So choosing to skip this final Scorp Gal and heading into the next dungeon. So unfortunately, I didn't see what Amethyst picked up in the shop, so I don't know how he is on Super Monster Milks. Gets a regular monster milk from these cactuses in this purple block room. Choosing to take the slightly safer route through the room and gets through no issue at all. I believe that was 2 monster milks there. I think he's got more than enough the rest of the run, but he'd be liking some super monster milks. So he fights 2 force Scorp Gals here. And he'll be hoping for drops. First one just drops him 5 gems, not what he wants to see. And the second one also drops him 5 gems. Definitely not what he wants to see. So he's setting up for the 1 cycle here. By doing the butt wiggle animation, you can count up to 4 butt wiggles, and then if you move, you can get a 1 cycle here, but it's very, very precise indeed. And Amethyst not getting it, knowing he not gets it, and takes the safety. So using a super pipe ball, I didn't see what type of monster milk he used there. We will soon see when he hits Squid Baron. I used a Super Monster Milk, hence why he's doing 14 damage. So Super Monster Milk gives you plus 10 damage, regular Monster Milk gives you plus 5 to your whip and scimitar attacks. So by killing Squid Baron during that dash phase, when he becomes Squid Baron 2.0, he'll know as soon as he breaks open his armor, Squid Baron will go into an eating phase, which means you basically just get a whole bunch of free damage on him. It's pretty much the ideal fight here. Yep, fantastic Squid Baron fight there by Amethyst, as well as you can expect it to go. So now with the map to Mudbog, he'll be using his Pirate Flare and heading back to Scuttletown to pick up the Death Mask. If you don't pick up the Death Mask at this point, you have to run all the way through Mudbog Island just to be denied access to the next area. Very, very easy to forget to do. But thankfully he remembers, saving himself a lot of pain. So now with the Death Mask in hand, he will be heading to Mudbog Island. So this area is one of the most challenging areas to get through casually, just for normal screens, and it's still very, very difficult in the speedrun. You hit your head in any of these ceilings and you'll basically be mobbed by monsters, lose a lot of health and lose a lot of time. Amethyst making it through the first 2 rooms, so no issue at all, just 2 more to go. Oh, and unfortunately slowing down in this last room. And you can just see just how many enemies there are and how quickly they can just surround you. Thankfully this last room's not too punishing. He lost a little bit of time by losing his dash, but he's not lost a whole lot of health, only a full heart. And that's just from 2 hits. So handing over the Death Mask allows him access to the Village of Lost Souls. So losing his dash there. So what they'll be doing here is collecting 3 coins. They'll then give to what are called the Gamers to play a nice game of heads and tails. So that's one of the coins. We'll be going up here to collect the second. So you see him not activating his charge until he gets through to the next room there. The reason for that is, for some reason, there is a basically invisible barrier that stops your charge there between those 2 rooms. So if you try charging from the right room to the left room, as soon as you get to that ledge there, you'll just stop. So by activating it as we're pretty much on that barrier, we can get through it. Amethyst getting a little bit unlucky there. Is he going to be using a food item to do an animation skip here to heal himself up, as the ghost got him quite good there. So was low on health and 1 hit away from using his auto potion. So with all 3 coins in hand, he'll now head back and go visit the Gamers. So the way the Gamers work, there are 3 of them. They'll ask you if it's going to be heads or tails, and you have to get all 3 of them right in a row. If you get 1 wrong, you're sent back to the start. So how many heads, tails is he going to get? Looks like he's got none so far, but he's got lots of heads. Thankfully, the game does go a bit merciful on you, and if you get it wrong 3 times, the 4th time it will be guaranteed. So getting through on the 4th try there. But thankfully not making it to the red gamer even once, so that was an okay gamers. So a needless little bit of item swapping here, just giving a bunch of items to other things, nice little fetch quests. And finally grabbing the manly musk, which will let him enter the next dungeon of the game, the Oubliette of Suffering. So for some reason this cave can smell, and it will let Shantae in if he smells like... Can't remember the exact description of that, but yeah, the manly musk is a good enough smell to let him into the Oubliette of Suffering. So thanks to all the pirate items, and thanks especially to the risky shuffle, you can do this dungeon extremely quickly. So what you normally need to do, in the room coming up any moment now, is there are a set of platforms that you need to lower, all to the same level, and then you're meant to run across the full length of them before charging through this block. Thankfully, thanks to the risky shuffle, we can just do it in that very, very small amount of space there, skipping 80% of the dungeon and then heading straight to the boss, Dagron. So choosing to use a regular pike wall and a regular monster milk here, don't blame him at all. So the way Dagron works is you can either swoop low or swoop high, or swoop short or swoop long I should say. And if you hit him in the head with your whip, it will knock him down to the ground and you'll get some damage on him. Amethyst taking a few unfortunate hits here, but thankfully he's knocking down Dagron before that happens. Otherwise it's very easy for the fight to get out of control. But a very nice fight indeed, and as always, just needed that one additional hit for that cycle. Yeah, that was a very good boss fight, all things considering, just using a regular monster milk and a regular pike ball. So Amethyst has been collecting gems throughout this dungeon, so he clearly has a shop plan in mind. I don't know if he bought all the pirate flares he needed when he did his last shop, because unfortunately I was not looking at that point, did not notice that. But it's possible he just needs flares, which in case he needs 60 gems for, and which means he can currently afford a super pike ball, or he could be saving up for some super monster mints, which cost 75 apiece. So you have to run out of the Village of Souls there, Village of Lost Souls, sorry, before you can use your Pirate Flare, as it counts as inside, and Pirate Flares only work outside. Now heading to the penultimate island of the game, Frostbite Island. So I've been running through this area. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to kill the wolves in these screens. They do have a very low drop chance of dropping a super pike ball or a super monster milk, or 5 gems even, which might be useful if he's running a bit short on gems, but he's deciding to skip them. It does slow you down a small amount, but it's less than a few seconds over the course of all these screens, so it can be worth doing if you are desperate for some drops. Especially as you can be prone to accidentally hit walls with your cannon anyway, so you're probably losing that time regardless. So he's now making his climb up towards Propeller Town. So normally at this point in the game you'll have every item except the cannon. This means that it allows us to skip some sections where we'd normally have to use our hat to float up. So it speeds things up a little bit and lets us do stuff like this, which was almost certainly not intended. And you can see there, as he got to the end of that platform, his dash stopped. That's another example of an invisible barrier stopping your charge. So he could have done a similar thing there, but he chooses just to charge through instead. So yeah, this room's a good example of him using his cannon just to skip a little bit of those air vents, speeding it up slightly. So not choosing to kill these kissy robots here, so he's clearly not too unhappy with his gems, as those frequently drop single gems. This room might be the biggest time save with the cannon. We can skip that entire going to the right there and use the cannon to skip those blocks. So, visiting Bolo to pick up the targeting module, he will now begin the final fetch quest of the game. First, you'll be heading to Spiderweb Island to visit Abner and Dorothy Tops to hand them the Death Mask. So pick up an additional Pirate Flare, as long as pick up Joe's Soul, which you'll need. So by handing in the soul we got at the end of Mudbog, we get Joe's Soul, and by handing in the Death Mask we get rewarded with a Pirate Flare.
Flare activated.
So now heading to Scuttletown to finish up collecting the items we need. And he'll be heading to his shop, presumably to pick up 2 Pirate Flares and a Super Pipe Ball, I'd imagine. He's thinking about it. Grabbing 3 potions instead. Right, so what we'll use those potions for is an animation skip collecting 3 keys in the next dungeon. And he's choosing to kill... No, he's not choosing to kill the Scarecrows. So he could have killed the Scarecrows hoping for another Super Pipe Ball drop, as he does only have 1 left. He's killing some of them, but not all of them. Yeah, a long time ago on Tanland Island we picked up this blade, which we now give to Brandon here, and he magically turns into Branson. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a valid run. No, it's too far to the left. People in chat will not be happy about that. Dragon, how many times do I have to tell you that's not He-Man? So returning Joe's Soul to Joe brings him back from Stone, and he decides to leave Sky. Sky is single once again. I'm sure Amethyst is happy about that. So Trent unfortunately had a game crash halfway through. It's a known issue with the PC version, and unfortunately not a lot we can do about it. So thanks to Bolo's magnificent engineering, the cannon, which was meant to be shooting at the palace, actually opens the entrance to the final dungeon on Frostbite Island. So you'll see Amethyst here switching to his potions to do an animation skip. 3 keys to collect here for the penultimate boss of the fight, Steel Maggot. Sorry, boss of the run, not the fight. Penultimate fight of the run. Unfortunately, not getting the potion skip there, but only a couple of seconds lost because of that. So there's a few places in the PC version where the game is prone to crashing. Generally happens if you change inputs during that load screen, but it can happen without that. But the main areas are leaving Tan Line Docks, which is where it happened to Trent, entering Abandoned Factory, where Amethyst is now, and entering Cackle Tower, the 3 main points of it. So Amethyst onto Steel Maggot here. So the way Steel Maggot works, he has these 3 buttons on top of his heads. On top of his body, I should say. You have to hit them in a certain order. We've got no idea what that order is, it's pure trial and error. So he's figured out that the first button is the back one, and he knows what the second button is, and the third button, and he goes for it, grabs it, using a regular pipe ball and a regular monster milk here, which should be enough for a 2 cycle if he gets both the pipe ball and the milk off on Steel Maggot, I believe. Getting lucky on the second cycle round and getting the pattern the first time. I believe this should be enough for a 2 cycle. Nope, not quite getting it. And again, getting lucky with the pattern here. Not getting the second one, but now he knows exactly what the pattern is. It'll be 2, 3, 1. Just missing Steel Maggot there and finishing off the fight. No problem at all. So now with the final map in hand, or at least any second now, they'll be heading to the Lost Grave. Sorry, the Lonely Grave, my mistake.
Oh yeah. Pirate flare activated.
Amethyst have 2 pirate flares there, or was I mistaken? Let me check on when the stream actually catches up. Doesn't make any difference unless he decides to use his pirate flare on Lonely Grave. I missed it on the stream as well. And Amethyst choosing to take his anger out on the bird there. So I believe Amethyst is just about on PB pace here. PB is listed as 56.39. I believe he did get a quicker run offline the other day, but unfortunately wasn't recording and didn't have his timer up. Yeah, he should be on target to beat that, assuming he gets a very good final climb here. So making his way through Scuttletown area one last time before heading to the Pirate Master's Palace. So normally what you'd have to do here is go through all these side rooms to the Pirate Master's Trials, which are fairly difficult sort of platforming sections you have to do. Instead, we can do a very precise trick here, where if you use your hat and cannonball 3 times, and use your hat again, you can skip that entire section. The reason that works is by using your hack, you actually get lifted up a pixel or two. Amethyst having a little trouble with it here. Bit quick on those cannonball shots is his issue here. Getting it that time though. You just got to find the rhythm to it and then you can get it down. So he's got one more to go. Very nice at the end there. So he could pick up the safety save here, and he's not doing it. He realises he's on PB pace probably, and doesn't want to risk it. So unfortunately only having a regular Monster Milk Super Pike Ball here, but that is fine. And more importantly, having a Bubble Shield. If you don't have a Bubble Shield here, he can one-shot you. Thankfully with the Bubble Shield, the only damage he can do to you is by you walking into it. Getting an unfortunate pattern here. They're getting no middle teleports at all. So those purple balls you see there, without a Bubble Shield, they would one-shot him in his current state. Not quite getting hits off here. Taking a hit but using his final potion just to heal up, and he still has his auto potion I believe. And using another potion. So these lasers here will kill him in one hit, but he has his auto potion, so I imagine he will just tank the damage. Tries to avoid it but gets it anyway. And yeah, that is a new PB for him. So Amethyst finishing the race with an official SRL time of 56:33, finishing in first place. Congratulations to him. I believe that'll be an 8-second PB for him. We'll see if we can bring him in for an interview. We'll see if Trent wants to come in. Right, let's bring Trent in here. Hello, Trent. Sorry for what happened there.
It's not your fault. It's the game's fault.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. You're on such a good run as well, and for it to happen there on tan line, it's disheartening.
Yeah, it is. Especially because, like, yesterday I said to Nori, like, I never had a crash before in this game. Never. Practice run before this, the tower, it crashed. I was like, oh, great. Why does it start today? And now this.
What were your thoughts on the run up to that point?
Yeah, I hit something like that, but yeah, doesn't matter. Couldn't finish.
Yeah. Right, let's bring Amethyst in here. I think he will be whispering as it's midnight and everyone is sleeping, but let's bring him in. Hello, Amethyst. Congratulations on the PB there.
Hey, cheers, man. You can hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry, it's very late.
What did you think of the run overall? You had some very good drop luck throughout.
Yeah, that was the drops in that run were pretty good. I was saying to myself, like, there's another meat chunk up there. All right. Unfortunately, didn't have a super milk for the Pirate Master fight, but other than that, pretty good run to PB.
Yeah, you had some solid boss fights throughout as well, despite not having the best loadout for them.
Yeah, The start of the game could have been a lot better. I can't remember exactly what happened. I think it was I had to backtrack for an extra flesh pop. That's right. I didn't get the 3 I needed from the 2 snakes, so and then that put me behind for the first 10 minutes of the run.
Yeah, I think you already had 2 pike balls and a super pike ball by that point, so
I did,
RNG needed to take something away from you in return for that.
Yep.
Yeah, that puts you 1 and 2 in the group now. Sorry.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yeah, that opens up the group a lot. So I think, I think it was a group of death beforehand, but
Yeah, I was definitely worried going into this group, but I've managed to hold my own against Bird. Unfortunately, died during the run, but that gave me a lot of confidence for the tournament and this run as well.
So you have 1 race left. Who's that against?
That is against. Can't remember. Can I have a look?
I think Modana.
I think so. Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, good luck on you on that race. For you, maybe you can even survive the group then. I just have to beat Bird.
Good luck, man. You can do it.
Not with the crash.
Where did you crash? What part of the game did you crash on?
10-line docks.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that one's been getting people recently.
I don't know why. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Do either of you have any final?
No, I don't think so.
So yeah, congratulations again on your PB and the win there.
Cheers.
And yeah, make sure to follow both these runners. The links are in chat. If you want more Shantae, we don't. So if you enjoyed this race, make sure to check them out as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good day, everyone.
And don't forget to follow this guy. Commentary.